Hello, Maverick fans. It's podcast time in Omaha. Welcome to the Mavpuckcast. Hi, John.
Hey, Jason. What's
How you
going on?
doing?
I'm just waiting for the Arctic plunge that's about to descend on Omaha.
Yeah, I know. I looked, it was like a quarter of an inch, and then it was a trace, and then it was like a half an inch, and now they're talking like 2 inches. I'm like, oh gosh, we're going to go through this again.
I'm
We're
honestly,
going to record a podcast, it's going to snow a foot.
since we're recording the podcast, I'm honestly kind of shocked that it didn't, snow today.
So we have to make this the fastest episode ever.
The
so
fastest
John
episode I can
out of
get
here.
home. Bridget's like, I hope you get home before the snow. And I'm like, when's it going to snow? And she's like, 9 o'clock. And I'm like, I'm getting out there at 4 o'clock to record this. She's like, I know how this goes. You guys spend at least, an hour ahead of time talking about topics that never appear on the show. So I was talking to Jason before this. We need to record that. And then we, for our donors and sponsors someday when we have that, they can listen to us chat about all the other, UNO hockey related stuff that doesn't make the podcast.
Watch for our Patreon account.
Watch for our Patreon accounts.
Please donate and not make us so poor, so we can afford stuff like hockey tickets. Okay, let's talk about the Badgers. How about that?
The Badgers coming to town to take on our Mavericks.
I was right. Just got to point that out. I'm not right very often.
That we
so
split?
I was right. Not only was I right that we split, but I was right on which nights we split.
I'll tell you what, dude. They very, very, I don't know if easily is the right word, but they could have swept that series, UNO.
I honestly thought, and I don't know, I'm sure people will berate me in comment sections, but I thought they played better Friday night than they played Saturday night, but we lost on Friday and won on Saturday, so hockey.
A couple bounces here, a couple of posts there.
Oh, they
would have won that game, yeah.
Prime opportunities on Friday. Scanlon had like a dozen, it seemed like.
He had a bunch of terrific shots.
He unfortunately kind of had that, like, with Keck being out, he had that Keck syndrome, I guess.
He caught
like
that.
The poor guy's just like
so
doing everything right and then just couldn't put it in the back of the net.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he's a great offensive defenseman.
Yeah.
As the season goes along, he's really going to develop well.
Yeah, for those who couldn't make the game, we'll set the stage. It was kind of an OV-esque kind of setup in that he would just kind of camp out on that offside from the puck and the in that face-off circle, and then just kind of wait for. I think Weiss gave him a couple long cross seams that he wanted to one time, and one of them went off the post. I think he just totally missed on another one. So he had some good opportunities. Unfortunately, just couldn't find it. And I mean, it was a 5-2 decision in favor of the Badgers on Friday night, but two of those were...
That score was really not indicative.
No, it was 3-2 until the two empty netters. So
now I will tell you quite honestly, when they pulled the goaltender, you and I talked about this a little bit during the game. We tried to save our discussion for the podcast. I would not have pulled the goaltender right then. Yeah, they were right close, somewhere between 90 seconds and 2 minutes left in the game. Now, I understand. I understand there's no perfect time to pull your goaltender. I just want to qualify this by saying that. However, UNO hadn't really established themselves in the offensive zone at that point. They really didn't have control of the puck the way I thought it needed to be. I thought they pulled Seville to get the extra attacker on the ice too soon. And when you haven't established yourself in the offensive zone, it doesn't matter how many extra attackers you have on the ice. There's a better than average chance that that's going to end up a goal for the other team. And it did.
I don't mind him. I don't mind Gabnet pulling Seville when he did. I think that good coaches recognize kind of where their team's strengths are. And with the way that play was going, we're just in general, we're not really a possession team. Like, we try and sometimes we get it, but as a whole, I would not consider Omaha a strong puck possession
working
team.
Around the offensive zone type of team.
Right.
You're looking at UNO right now as being, they kind of tend to score in transition is probably what you're looking at.
Yeah, they score off of rushes. And so
right.
For me, from a coaching standpoint, I would say I'd probably do the same thing with this team that Gabnet did, in that you pull him even if you don't have it. Now, execution is where it comes down. I would have rather seen too strong on the puck so that you try to force an errant pass, you try to force a turnover, you try to force, something. Bring the extra attacker into an open lane to try to kind of deceive them to think this is my out. And like you said, in transition off of that, try to get your scoring opportunity. And it just was such that we were a little bit light, a little bit weak off that.
Yeah.
That puck, and both times that we pulled them, it was pretty quick that they put the puck in our net.
Now, see, me just being a little bit more conservative and
Right.
careful on that, I would have waited till about the 60-second mark. I would have looked to see if the team would establish. Obviously, this is a situation that the team has not been in this season, so this was obviously something new. And when you're dealing with a team with a bunch of new guys, we haven't seen this yet.
Right.
I would have waited a little longer because we had just gotten the goal to narrow the lead to one goal, so it was 3-2 at that point. We had momentum on our side. I would have waited a little bit longer. It's a minor quibble.
I don't even know. I don't even know if I'd say it's a quibble because I don't think, as you mentioned when we kind of started this discussion, that there is no good time to do it. So it's really just it's a feel from guys who have more information than those of us in the stands. And there's a lot of people that I've seen say, I would do it, I wouldn't do it, I would do it differently. And we're both saying the same thing.
Well, and that is one thing to point out, though.
We have limited information.
You and I, and in many respects, maybe we had more information because we're sitting, we got a bird's eye view at center ice, sitting up in the second tier. We can see what's, going on, kind of ice sheet all the way across, whereas the coaches are sitting down there behind the bench. So they can't see some of those things set up the way that we can. So it's possible, just looking at it from up there, it looks a lot different than when you're down there.
Yeah. But they know their players. They know their system. I'm not going to... I can say that I would do something differently, but I'm not going to say that it's right or wrong.
Hindsight's always 20/20, right?
Well, of course. And it's just... It's just not a right or wrong decision.
No, because here's the thing, and just kind of playing devil's advocate to my point of view. If you don't pull him, and UNO isn't able to get any pressure in the offensive zone, then you're like, why didn't you pull him sooner and get the extra attacker out there?
What if you don't get zone time possession until 30 seconds left, and then you don't have enough time to establish anything? What if it goes the right way? What if, he comes off and it's an errant pass and Ward picks it up and fires it in the game side?
Then you look like a complete genius. Yeah.
Right.
Totally.
I mean, it comes, like I said, comes down to execution. I think more so than the decision, it was the execution of the team, probably because we haven't
been in that kind of situation this season, and we got a lot of new guys. And so this was a good learning moment, and I think we'll see if we run into a situation like that this upcoming weekend at Western. So yeah. But anyway, Friday night was a great performance.
It was a physical game. Both nights were really physical games.
Yeah.
I mean, this was probably one of the more physical games I've seen for non-conference in a long time. I mean, this was more physical than some conference games at times. There was a lot of extracurricular pushing and shoving throughout the game. Seville went down at one point in time on cross the crease move that caught an elbow to the head. They went back and reviewed it and ejected the Wisconsin player.
Is it just me, or does it seem like some of these teams are really interested in kind of running Seville? You know what I'm saying?
Coaching on the other bench, you've got to get in his head.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a good enough goaltender. If he sees it, he's probably going to stop it.
Right.
So you need traffic.
Yeah.
Outside of that, I would say looking at his junior stuff, he can get frazzled with people kind of being in his space. And so I would totally have crossing moves. I'd have guys, big bodies in front, try to limit his lines of sight and limit his movement in the sense of if I'm standing
fellow
there,
NCHC teams, don't listen to anything that Jason is saying right now. But yeah, there was a lot of chippiness going on after the whistle this weekend.
Yeah. I mean, there's ways to get around that to, get that space too. And I know Gabnett knows how to do that because he's done it in previous seasons. So there's ways to clear the front of the net out, and with some of our defensemen, you can do that. So, and with our transition game, if your transition game's on a click, it becomes a lot harder to justify putting someone that deep in the zone.
Yeah.
In a position where they're going to be behind the play so quickly.
Right.
I mean, if they don't have speed on your team, Wisconsin has speed on their team, so they could do it and not have to worry because they can get back with Caulfield and Alex Turcotte. That was the other one.
Yep, Alex Turcotte.
Yeah, so I mean, with the two of them, you've got really good talent and good speed. I mean, Turcotte showed it. Would he have three goals on the weekend?
Yeah. We heard his name a lot this weekend.
And it seemed like if he wasn't scoring the goal, he's the one who passed the puck to. And we got lucky with Caulfield because he was very frustrated on Saturday, had some prime opportunities that he missed. I haven't seen him be that flustered in any of the games I've seen Wisconsin play this season. So hats off to the Mavs for frustrating him, probably Seville.
Yeah. And to your question just a few moments ago, Turcotte did have 3 goals this weekend.
That was right.
Yeah, this is Jason's national championship pick, by the way. I didn't think, and I just got to tease him here. I didn't think they were like that impressive. So I mean, maybe they'll be good by the time March rolls around. But I was not, I wasn't awed by that Wisconsin team, and I thought we played with them really well. We skated with them all weekend long.
Yeah. Like I said, it's rare that a top team gets all the way there.
Right.
I picked them because I think they have the talent to make it into the tournament, and then, I mean, you saw Caulfield and Turcotte, so who knows what could happen?
They do have some talented young players on that roster.
The biggest question with them is defense, which I thought their defense did pretty good against Omaha.
Yeah.
And goaltending, and that's where I thought they let in some weak goals.
Yeah.
Especially on Saturday.
Yeah.
I thought some of those really should have been saves. So I think that over time, if that gets better, they become much more dangerous.
Exactly. We'll see. I'm hoping they turn out like Boston College last year because Jason picked them and it was a complete dumpster fire out there in Massachusetts. So I just want to be able to tease him all season long. So Wisconsin, if you fold to the rest of the Big Ten, I won't be disappointed.
John will be happy.
I'll be happy.
I'll be like, yeah, well, that's
although
that's
we
what I get
although
for
we
going.
did split with them. We did beat them on Saturday night, so we kind of need them to do fairly well to help our pairwise ranking comparison later on. So
yeah,
it was a great weekend for the team. Saturday night, just talking a little bit about that. I thought UNO came out on fire. I thought they played really well. There were moments where you wondered, but I give them credit. They came out relentless, and they were ready to go.
They overcame some penalty trouble, which we have been in a lot of penalty trouble this year.
That's the story, and that was the story last season. It's the story this season too, and I think that was one of the factors on Friday night. They've got to avoid some of those silly penalties. Yeah,
and just like unnecessary penalties.
Because 5-on-5, I'll tell you right now, we can play with anybody in the country.
Yeah, they're playing really well 5-on-5, and our power play's pretty effective.
Yep.
So teams are going to play a little tighter to their chest, not wanting to give you that opportunity.
Yeah, it's something. I mean, Isaiah Seville said this in the Friday press conference. He's like, we're a team that wants to grind out wins and wear down our opponents. And I'll tell you what, if they keep playing like they are and keep training and keep developing and keep listening to what Coach Gabinette and Coach Noel Bernier and Coach Gerard say this season, they can become that kind of team in the second half. So,
and I mean, Saturday's game was 3-2 at the end of the second.
Yep.
2 goals in the first quarter of the third period is what kind of set it away for the Mavs, because I thought going into the third period I was a little like, we might have to like bite our nails and cross our fingers and toes and pray we squeak out of here with a win. And then within about 5 minutes, it seemed we were up by 3 and coasting.
Yeah, Martin Sundberg got that nice little goal there.
He had a nice one, yeah.
That was great. It was just sitting right there in the crease, and he puts that in. There was one earlier. I'll tell you what, the second goal by in the Saturday game by Kevin Conley, and it was really. God, I loved watching the replay of that, where Abate just kind of puts the puck through the Wisconsin goaltender's feet, and then Conley's there to put it away. Great goal.
I loved the third one. Weiss kind of did what Weiss does, and my favorite part was his confidence seems higher this season than what
he had a great weekend.
He makes the pass from the kind of coming out of the corner around the back of the net, and it goes out to Abate.
Yep.
And I was watching Weiss going, he hasn't even shot the puck yet, and you're like gloating that it's going to be a goal, and sure enough, it's in. And he's just like, it was just that confidence of like, he gave him the puck in a prime scoring place on a guy who's got a hot stick right now, and it worked out the way we wanted. Ends up being the game-winning goal. So Abate's leading the NCAA.
His 4th game-winning goal, leading the NCAA.
He's just
awesome.
Got a knack for it.
He has.
It's good. And not all of them have been this kind of, I score in the second period and it holds on to end up being the game winner. Some of them really were game-winning goals where it's tied and I got it.
Where they needed that goal in the third period, absolutely. So that's been an impressive little development for the team this season, and he's a great player. I love watching him play.
So should we talk players of the weekend?
Yeah, our standout player of the weekend. I'll let you go first.
Since I stole
Since you stole my player of the weekend. But yes, go ahead.
I did ask you if you knew who you're going to pick and gave you a chance to steal.
You knew I was going to say, I didn't want you to have to come. I
come up with another one.
I wanted to toss that up to you and let you spike it down. So
Nolan Sullivan, I would say.
Nolan Sullivan,
was my top. A goal on Friday, 2 assists on Saturday.
His first collegiate goal, by the way. Congratulations on that, Nolan Sullivan.
Keep that puck. The thing that impressed me the most is playing center. He was defensively aware. He knew when to jump up. I didn't feel he was out of position very frequently. Everyone's going to be out of position every once in a while. But it seemed like he was pretty good at making sure he was where he needed to be when he needed to be there. And one of the Achilles heels for this team the last few years has been our inability to win faceoffs.
Right.
And at one point in time, he was 100% in the period. He finished the weekend above 60% in the faceoff dot. And if he can keep doing that, I think that he's got a good permanent role somewhere in the depth chart, hopefully somewhere high with...
I believe he was 7 for 7 in the first period on faceoffs. And that's the thing. We need a faceoff wizard on this team. You and I saw him play with the Muskegon Lumberjacks last season.
Right, when we went to the Lancers game last season.
He was right in front of us, and I got like 3 or 4 pictures of the guy taking faceoffs because that's what he did all game, and the guy won faceoffs.
Yeah. And I'm a little... That was kind of... When I grew up and played hockey, that was my thing. My coach was always like, you're not the talent out here. You're not going to, score 60 goals.
Right.
I'm not that guy. He's like, I need you to win faceoffs, block shots, occasionally dish in a goal. And that was my job. So I can appreciate someone who knows, look, this is my skill set.
See, you should have volunteered to be the enforcer on your team. I'll just go out there and take guys out and sit in the box the rest of the game. That's what I'll do. Yeah. Yeah, no, he's a great guy, and I'll tell you what, he's had some good shot opportunities, and I think he's going to become.
And I remember when we were sitting in the stands at that Lancers game, with Muskegon there, we both agreed and both said that his ability in the faceoff dot was going to be a huge asset coming into Omaha. So it's nice to see that kind of work out.
Well, and he played really well. One of the forwards on Muskegon at that time was Brock Bremer, who is now with the Lincoln Stars, and he'll be coming to UNO. I believe next season. Maybe it's the season after. You never can tell with these recruits. But those two played really, really well together, and they had a great chemistry. So I'm excited to see them reunited next season with the Mavericks. But so far, Nolan Sullivan's looked great.
So who's your backup pick?
My backup pick, and I wanted, and I'm just gonna. My apologies to UNO defensemen. I wanted to pick a defenseman, so I'm gonna give a shout out before I give my pick to Brandon Scanlon and Kirby Proctor. I thought they both played really well this weekend. I know Proctor isn't as flashy offensively as Scanlon is, but I'll tell you what, Proctor's a guy who, if you, and a lot of fans aren't going to know this, but you've watched, he does little things right throughout the game, and it makes a huge difference. So I love those two guys. I almost picked Scanlon because I love Scanny, one of my favorite players this season. But I got to go again, and I believe I picked him last week. I got to go with Joey Abate again. He's just too much fun to watch. I got to go with him.
And lead the league in game-winning goals. I mean, it's hard not to pick him.
Game-winning goals. It's hard not to pick him. And your friend and my friend, Kevin Shreves, said this about him this morning on Twitter. He said, he busts his ass every shift. I respect that. I agree. I respect that too. He's so much fun to watch, and he's been a difference maker this season. And of all the recruits, we weren't talking a lot about him coming in, but yeah. I'll tell you, he hustles every play, and he puts himself in a position to score and to make a difference. And I've loved watching him this season. I know you've enjoyed watching him, and I think he's quickly become a fan favorite.
And I think when we talk about Coach Gabnett and his comments about, play the right way and put in the work and the work ethic, and we hear that a lot in press conferences and media events and things like that. And I think that Abate kind of exemplifies that.
Exactly.
Like, this is the kind of kid that he didn't come in here with all-star expectations, but he's willing to do what he needs to do day in and day out to see this through and to produce and be part of a winning team. And he's a big reason why we sit where we sit in the standings and have a lot of, I think as fans should have a lot of excitement and expectation for the rest of the season.
There are a lot of, as one of Bridget and I, our friend Brandy Teeter said, it reminds us of watching the UNO teams of old. It reminds us of those teams from 10, 12 years ago. They're a lot of fun. They're not perfect, but they work hard. It's a lot of fun to watch them. So great job on the weekend. I still think they could have gotten the sweep, but I'll take a split against Wisconsin any day. So that was a great weekend for them.
So we had some nice additions to the fan experience this weekend.
Yeah.
We had a new hype video.
The new intro video this year.
It was pretty
nice.
Pretty nice. What do you give it? 4 Rotten Tomatoes, 5 Rotten Tomatoes.
What are we doing?
Can we say Rotten Tomatoes?
On a scale of what?
Then we just get a copyright flag on us.
Yeah, we are. Yeah, don't do that. We don't want Rotten Tomatoes coming after us. Don't listen to anything we're saying.
Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah. So what, on a scale of what? You want me to give it a letter grade? You wanted me to give it on a scale of like 1 to 5 stars? Scale of 1 to 10? What do you want me to give?
1 to 5 hockey pucks.
1 to 5 hockey pucks?
This is a hockey podcast.
I'll give it 4 hockey pucks.
You'll give it 4 hockey pucks?
Yeah, I don't really, I'll be honest with you. I'm not a person who really gets worked up one way or another about the intro video. I thought it was cool. One of the things I will say that I liked the fact that it gave a little bit of a nod back to the Exarban Properties original being, which was as a racetrack. That was a huge tourist attraction here in Omaha years and years ago on the Exarban property. And then they also had like an arena and ballroom, and the Omaha Lancers played in the arena. And if those of you out there listening never got to see an Omaha Lancers game at Exarban Coliseum, it was great. It smelled of, cigarette butts and stale beer. And it was just this really blue collar, rough and tough atmosphere. It was great. And
it was an old school barn.
And they had like a sellout streak for years. They were like the Nebraska Cornhuskers of hockey here, because that was the only hockey entity. And it was great going to a game. And that's part of what led to UNO developing their program. They saw that it could be viable. So I liked the video. That was good.
I think I go with you. I don't know what I like.
I don't know what I'm expecting. No.
I don't know what to compare it to. That's my thing. Is like, I think it's on par with stuff we've had before. I I kind of like the idea that you kind of tossed back to, early days in the program. I always think that's kind of a cool thing to do for the media people that there to be. Something we haven't talked about that I actually think is kind of cool is the new graphics that they have when they introduce the players, like the starting lineup and stuff.
Those are cool. Yeah, it's really nice because it has their little signature. Yeah, that's awesome.
And it has the flag of what country they come from.
Which that's really helpful too. That's nice. Yeah, I like seeing that.
The one thing I wish it had is I wish it had their year in school. It used to last year, but I didn't see it.
See, I don't know. I haven't studied it. There's some information going up the side of the image, so I haven't.
When I looked at it at the last game, I didn't see year in school on there, and maybe that's where it is, and I just overlooked it. And
I will study that at the next home series and see if it tells.
Because I think that's
what class they are.
That stuff's pretty cool introductions.
Yeah, I know. I love the little signature thing they have there. I think that's great. Cool. Yeah,
it's a nice touch. We also had some. Well, I don't know. Baxter Arena's kind of become it's no longer a non-smoking facility. You could say.
No, yeah. Can you call that? Yeah. So Baxter Arena is now vaping. Apparently,
we're jumping on the vaping trend.
Yeah. The rest of the world is jumping off. Baxter Arena is jumping on. So what do we call those? Do we call those fog machines, fog horns?
Well, they did have a horn.
They kind of
did they just sound the arena horn, or do they actually have horns on those foggers?
I think that they made.
I think they actually have a horn on the fogger.
Yeah, I think it's with the pressure or whatever of the fog coming, and they have these in all four corners, right down by the goal.
Right.
And
I noticed that I kept looking to the right. I guess I'd never looked to our left, so I know they have them down by the student section and that stuff.
Yes, and they do have them in the. I guess that would be the north end too.
Okay.
So they have them down there too.
Okay.
And when something cool happens and the team comes out or we score a goal, fog is shot out. Look, here's what I'll say. For a year, I'm the guy who runs the Devils fan site where people complain and do all that stuff all the time. So for years, over the years, everybody's like, oh, we got to do more to enhance the atmosphere and make it a better atmosphere. And then a lot of times they'll try stuff and everybody's like, well, we wanted a better atmosphere, but we didn't want that. So in this instance, I'm just going to say I'm glad that they're trying something new. I'm glad that they're trying something to make it kind of a fun, unique environment. Because honestly, I haven't seen those at any other college hockey venue I've been to. So I'm totally down with that. As far as I know, a lot of college hockey venues, it's pretty pedestrian. Some of them don't even have bands. So I feel very fortunate that we got a pep band back when we moved to Baxter Arena. So I was totally down with them. Now I'm sure that other people have a myriad of opinions. What are your thoughts?
My first thought was
you can give it to me. Yeah, I want to be honest.
I watched their announcement thing on I saw their announcement thing on Twitter.
They teased it because we were Now here's why I thought it was going to be an inflatable, okay? Because when the team used to have an inflatable that they would skate out through,
right,
they would take fire extinguishers and they, release the fire,
the CO2, right,
whatever it is, and it would create like a smoke, kind of like a fog thing for the players to skate out through. So when I saw that little video clip that they put on the at Omaha HKY put on their Twitter account, I thought, ooh, maybe they're bringing back a new inflatable. And so I put that out there, and a lot of people liked that. And I may have gotten my expectations a little too high, but really what they showed us on the video was what we got.
Yeah, I think that was my problem. It's I saw it, and I had these expectations of if you've ever been in an old school community rink.
Okay.
First thing in the morning, when the ice has been sitting there all night and it's gotten really humid, and you go in and it's just this dense fog in the building. Right. Where it was really cool. You could shoot pucks and stuff through it and get trails, and it was just the common saying is, fog so thick you can cut it with a knife. And it was kind of that way. I had set my expectations like, we're going to get fog. The entire arena is going to get fog. This is going to be awesome.
So Jason basically Jason didn't want us to be able to see the game at all Friday or Saturday night in 216 because the fog would have lifted up to our section and we would just have to look through a haze the whole night. So Jason wanted this to be true, we're fogging out Baxter Arena.
I wanted I wanted like a contact high from the fog.
So Jason really did want Baxter Arena to vape this last weekend.
I mean, you're going to do this, like, go all out here. And we didn't get that.
Well, so Jason's
that was like the first time it went off.
Jason's recommendation would be that you just crank those things on and leave them on for about 5 minutes. And
the other thing I thought was, the timing of it, I wanted them to be like over the top annoying right when we scored a goal, that end of the rink, just that end of the rink, and just blare them for
with the
a
smoke,
minute or something,
fog stuff just coming out.
Just really, and like shine some lights through it and stuff, and really make it like
you could kind of have
when
like
we
the
score,
laser
it's like
lights
this huge deal, right?
Well, see, maybe they should have gotten the things that shoot out the flame.
Yeah,
you've seen those. Awesome. where you can feel the heat
Fire.
4 sections away. Jason's got pyromania going on here.
Heck yeah.
Yeah. So anyway,
don't put me in charge of this.
Well, I think they'll work on it. Who knows what they'll do when a big name team like North Dakota's. I give them credit because I will tell you, I've been one of those people online who's been critical. So I give them credit for trying something new and trying something different. It's unique with what I've seen at the other arenas in the NCHC. So I'm, kudos to them for, enhancing spirit.
We'll say it's a step in the right direction.
Yeah, Jason would like for it to just be, total fog in the arena so that
I say it's a cool thing that you did. Just, turn it from 1 to 100 and we'll be okay.
Jason wants to overwhelm the ventilation system at Baxter Arena. Yes.
I want to set off the fire extinguishers for our fog machines.
Well, maybe we can get you that gig if they ever do get an inflatable again. Jason wants to be one of the guys down on the ice who unleashes the CO2.
No way anyone there's stupid enough to put me in charge of things like that.
I mean, if they offered one of those things like Ohio State does where you can, get a tour of the locker room, maybe they could let you bid on, shooting off the fire extinguishers if they ever do that. But I will say, I give them credit.
God, someone overbid Jason.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know whose idea it was, but I give them credit for creativity and trying to do something fun. And I hope they continue to make enhancements to the game atmosphere throughout the season because that's something they need to do because otherwise it becomes stale after a while. So,
and part of that is they're announcing, the referees in the ice are announcing penalties and calls and goal reviews and
that's
things
new
like
this
that,
year.
which
Yeah,
I really like.
I like too. I like having that explained. Yep.
Yeah. So the other thing that was new that I knew absolutely nothing about, and I'm sure that you looked at me going, why is he giving me this stupid look? Was apparently we're recycling old milk cartons.
Yeah. So you were not back. You were not around back during the day when we had
this was
milk
before
jug
my time.
Noise shakers. So yeah, in the north end of the concourse, near kind of the main entrance where the team shop is and that kind of stuff, they had a couple tables set up with milk jugs from Highland Dairy.
They were empty, by the way, because you're not allowed to bring in liquids.
They were not full of milk. They were not giving away milk that had been sitting there for 2.5 hours, in room temperature. That would have been
that they brought in their clear bags.
That would have been food poisoning waiting to happen. But anyway, so back in the year 2000, and this was back when UNO had started their early season tournament called the Maverick Stampede. And the Maverick Stampede came about because Mike Kemp had been involved. He'd been a longtime assistant at Wisconsin, and they had the Badger Showdown at holidays every year. And so he wanted to do a preseason tournament. And UNO was able to do it because we were Alaska's travel partner in the CCHA. So because we played at Alaska every season, we got 2 exempted games. So the Stampede was kind of our 2 extra exempted games, and so that's why we did it. So that first year, Country Inn and Suites was the sponsor. I was out there at the news conference because I was on the Blue Line Club board of directors at the time. And the opponents that year, it was a good slate. We had Boston College, we had Notre Dame, and we had Niagara. And I remember Mike Kemp kind of joking at the time because UNO started off as a Protestant university before it became a public institution, and the other 3 schools, Niagara, Notre Dame, and Boston College, were Catholic schools. So he's like, we're the Protestant schools fighting a battle against the Catholic schools. But one of the things that they did was they introduced these milk jug noise shakers. So as part of the Blue Line Club board, we went to a kind of an old building that had kind of warehouse space, and it was between 50th Street and Saddle Creek along Dodge, and I was on the south side, and I can't remember what the building was. I don't know if it was a building that was for sale or lease, and one of the Booster Club members maybe owned that building. But we put together all of these milk jugs from Robert's Dairies, and they had a special Maverick Stampede sticker on it. And then there were these little round circles that you could fill with special Maverick stickers that they would give you after games. And I think maybe it was after games that UNO won. I can't remember that program for sure. But every time UNO scored, they encouraged you to put change in the milk jug noise shaker. And then at the end of the season, they collected that change and they donated the money to charity. So a couple of the scratched players at the end of the season who weren't playing in the final game would stand with big buckets outside the entrances at the Civic Auditorium, and you could pour your money in there. But they were a great noisemaker. You fill those things with just, a few coins, and you shake them up and down. They're loud. They're loud like a cowbell, and you get a bunch of people using those. They're fantastic. And in the early days of the program, I remember when we would take the Mavpuck bus trips, Bridget had a big bag full of those milk jugs with coins in them that she would hand out to the 50 or so people that we took on the bus trip so that they could, irritate fans in opposing arenas with those things. So it was kind of a neat thing, and it made UNO hockey really unique, and it just kind of sort of died off over the years. But I hope maybe this is a kind of a serious attempt to bring those back because it's kind of fun. So a lot of people don't know the history of that, and if you have any questions for me, I would be happy to answer.
Well, so I guess obviously not. I mean, I get the concept.
Yeah.
Did you promote it from the Blue Line Club? Did you have
it was
like announcements or something
so here's
at the
thing.
game?
I think I told you, and I skipped this part, but I think I told you we put stickers on like 8,000 of these milk jugs, and then we put a little note inside the milk jug that explained what exactly you were to do with the milk jug, and we put them out on every seat before that first Stampede game, so that fans would know what to do with them and try to make an intimidating atmosphere. So yes, it was definitely promoted, and it was promoted throughout the season about, adding new change to your milk jug when UNO scored a goal or UNO won a game. I can't remember exactly what the...
I mean, that's obviously not having been around back in those days. I don't know if we were even in Omaha back then. What years did you say you did?
2000 was the first year.
Yeah, we weren't here yet.
Yeah.
So as a comparatively new fan of UNO Hockey League, the explanation of what's going on, I think, is lacking, and it kind of makes me worry if this is just it's going to end up being a dud because they're not really putting the power behind it.
They just have the table sitting there,
And quite honestly, until you're doing your story now about it, like I didn't know that it was a charity thing because that's cool. Like put the money in there, and at the end of the season, you can.
And again, I don't know if they're doing
dump
anything.
It on the ice or something.
I don't know if they're doing anything charitable with it now or not.
I don't know.
Have any idea. I don't know.
But that's a good question. Is why not?
Jason
wants
promote
it on the big screen.
Jason wants you to promote it like you promoted it almost 20 years ago. It's
at least just let me know. Grab a jug, fill it for I don't know, kids with cancer and St. Jude. I don't know what you're supporting. Like, tell me what you're supporting, because I think a lot of times, like, you make it as noise maker. I'm like, yeah, I got I got my cowbells. I'm okay, right? But then you say like, at the end of the season, we're gonna give the money to kid. heck yeah, I'm getting involved in that.
Yeah, exactly. And that was the early years. That's why it worked really well. And that's why people would bring those things game after game. And the thing is, when you're shaking those jugs with a bunch of change in them, and people would put washers and other, I mean, they wouldn't donate that, the non-money, but, they would have to duct tape the bottom of the milk jug. Because after a while of shaking those things, the bottom would pretty much deteriorate. So, but they promoted it really well back then. And it caught on pretty well. I mean, there were some people, how some people are, they're irritated by noisemakers. Also, some people were just kind of pissed off by the milk jugs. But this one, they just kind of had a table with some set out. And I don't know if they just had that this weekend because they had that president's reception on the practice rink for people who donate over a certain amount of money. I don't know if it was just for them kind of as a fun thing, and then they set them up in the lobby, or if those are going to be there every week. I think obviously something like that works better if you're going to set one on every seat in Baxter Arena, and you do it before a game that's like a big series where most of the seats are going to be full.
Right.
That type. It's hard to know. I don't know. You're one of the modern people today who probably doesn't carry money around, so it might be hard to get people to put change.
Oh, I have. Yeah, I mean, we have change here in the house. I will certainly.
Jason can
have
talk.
Some, but
yeah.
No, I'm not.
Jason would like to do Apple Pay everywhere or whatever the heck he's doing. Those of us who are old school, who still like, cash, we would have change to do that. So I'll talk about it a little bit more as the season goes on, but I thought you might enjoy the history of that, and some of the fans out there who are kind of new to UNO hockey and are younger fans might enjoy that. So back in the old day, kids, back in the old days.
This is totally the OK Boomer section of the Mavpuckcast today.
Right? Yeah, this is Jon likes to talk about the olden days. So, yep. But it was kind of cool to see him back. It reminded me of that, so I'm happy to be able to explain that to you.
Sounds like an awesome idea, and I appreciate the.
And I'll tell you what, those things are loud too. They
I can imagine. And until you get the jug full, and then it doesn't make any sound at all.
Much like our fog noise dispensers, it's kind of one of those unique things that was uniquely UNO back during those years. So that was kind of fun. So
I like a loud arena. Anything we go to, right. I've had plenty of friends who said that their problem going to see Arizona Coyotes NHL games is that that arena apparently just isn't loud.
It's dead.
And there's just something to be said for a lot of people cheering and carrying on, and a good PA system that, carries you through that.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, so if you would like a special decal for your milk jug, since these did not have a special decal, they just had the Highland Dairy thing, we could probably make some, Mavpuck decals that you could stick on there. So we can.
Yeah, there is an idea.
Yeah, there you go. Okay.
Patreon. That's part of.
That's right. The people can collect money in the jugs, and then they can donate it in a they can pour it in Bridget's clear plastic bag at the end of the season, so Jason can upgrade our equipment for this podcast. Exactly right. So
next series?
Yeah. Speaking of series that remind me of the old days of UNO hockey when they were in the Central Collegiate Hockey Association, we're headed up to Kalamazoo to take on the Western Michigan Broncos this week.
Road trip.
That's one of my favorite road trips now that you bring it up. And one of our favorite bus trips, we went up there in 2006. And this was one of those deals where UNO needed a point or two to secure fourth place in the CCHA standings. And at that point, the way that the CCHA playoffs worked, there were 12 teams in the conference. The teams that finished 1 through 4 got a bye week in the first round of the playoffs. And then 5 through 12 were seeded, where 5 played 12. They reseeded. So those 5 through 12 played each other the first weekend, and then the winners of those games went on to play the teams that finished 1 through 4. So suffice it to say, UNO did not finish fourth, despite needing a couple of points. So we had to go on the road next week. But I remember Krutov, who is the Mavboni driver, that everybody enjoys watching him come out on the little Mavboni that he built to pick up the fish when UNO scores the first goal. He comes up to me, and this would have been the Saturday night game, and if I recall correctly, he guaranteed a win. He's like, I'm telling you what right now, Jon, UNO's going to win this game. And if they don't win this game, I'm going to streak around the bus. Sure enough, Krutov was a man of his word. Bridget and I were still in the arena talking to some of the officials, and we come out and everybody's laughing on the bus. He streaked around the bus in the parking lot at Lost and Ice Arena in Kalamazoo.
Was this the days before cell phone video?
This was, oh no, people captured pictures of this. But it was 2006. So it was before we had the kind of phones that we have now. Otherwise, somebody, I'm sure, would have Facebook Live that thing. So anyway, one of my favorite series.
Shut down.
Well, and the other thing I loved about that series, that was when Scott Parse played for UNO, and Bill and Judy Parse lived in a suburb right around Kalamazoo. And when we got to our hotel, because they knew we were coming up, because we've been talking about it online, everybody was very excited. One of the meeting rooms at the hotel had snacks and pop and beer for the fans waiting for them when we got to the hotel. And I thought that was super sweet. It was Bill and Judy Parse who got that for our bus trippers. So it's a favorite trip of mine. My niece Hannah was also a Division I gymnast at Western Michigan for 4 years. So I've been to Kalamazoo quite a bit. This is a big series coming up. This is the first NCHC series for our team this season. Jason loves that I segued to take another trip down memory lane there. This is a big series. This is a team that we had success against last season, despite our struggles last season. It's a team that we don't always love playing because sometimes they can be an incredibly frustrating foe. And you have to deal with the student section, the Lawson Lunatics when you're up there.
And the bigger ice.
I don't know. Do they have? I don't know if they have Olympic ice or not. I don't know if they have.
Western Michigan was one that I know. St. Cloud is, but I thought Western Michigan was the other one.
Northern Michigan has an Olympic
Northern
ice
Michigan.
sheet. Yeah. So Western's got the NHL
NHL
sheet,
size.
so you don't have to worry about that. Although UNO has over the years has played well, so you don't have to worry about that there. But it's an old barn. It's like a 1970s era facility, like a number of those kind of old CCHA foes. So. Western Michigan coming in.
I think.
Or Western Michigan. We're going into Western Michigan. What do you think?
It'll be an interesting test to me because I think they're in a similar position to UNO as far as like where we sit in the standings and kind of how we've played. And I think they had more expectation. I think people expect more out of that team.
They do.
So they've got a little bit more to play for because, if we beat them, it's kind of... there'll be a lot of people that say that we got lucky, right?
Right.
If they beat us, it's, well, you're supposed to beat Omaha. They're not supposed to be very good, and you're at home, and that's just, what's supposed to happen.
They're one of those teams, before last season, I remember Mike Gabinet said he thought that they were possibly the best team in the conference last season.
I remember
Obviously,
they
didn't live up to the hype, but they've got a lot of those. They've got a lot of those names that you and I have heard on that roster over the past several years. Guys like Hugh McGing, Dawson DiPietro. Yeah, they've got a lot of really good forwards on that roster. But record-wise, they're similar to us. They're 5-3-2. They're 2-1 at home. They're 2-1 away. I don't know. This is a tough one. I mean, me. I've basically, other than that trip out to Ohio State earlier in the season, I basically picked UNO is going to sweep every series this season. So
the things to look at for me is they tied Ohio State in their game against Ohio State.
Yeah,
and then they finished the icebreaker with Bowling Green, and then they have
they beat Bowling Green 5-2, and then they had a home and home against Bowling Green, and they lost both of those games.
Right. So it's kind of I don't know.
They're all over the place. Like if you look at the next series, then they played at Michigan October 25th and 26th. They lose 4-0 at Michigan, and then they get Michigan at Lost and Ice Arena, and they win 4-1. They're one of the things that I noticed about them last season, and I think we've talked about on this podcast before, is that they're a team that plays well in Kalamazoo. The results have been kind of spotty on the road. Although they did go out and have a good series at Colorado College, and I watched that on NCHC TV. But again...
Yeah, I thought that they had a good Friday game. They let up on Saturday.
Well, and the thing was, Colorado College was up in that game on Friday, and they just came back and unleashed a string of goals.
The part that worries me is that they had a home and home with Ferris State,
right?
And they did well at home. They did really well on the road.
And I'll tell you right now, Ava Glaben Ice Arena, where Ferris State, Bridget and I have been there 2 or 3 times, that is a tough place to go in and play. No matter how good or not good Ferris State is, it's tough. And they rolled. They won 8-2.
Yeah. So I guess the question is how do they rebound from that? Like, you're on a high point.
Yeah.
You know, you played a good series. You played both home and away. You took care of business. Now you've got UNO coming in. I think
they're going to take
prior to our Wisconsin series, Western Michigan is probably thinking like this should be a team
we should be able to beat at home. The problem is, though, they struggled against us last season in a season where we only won 9 games. So, you know what I'm saying, Jason? This is they might be motivated here.
It's kind of a classic Andy Murray team too.
Yeah,
they're a bit of a trap team. They're a bit of a push and pinch kind of old school.
They play kind of a physical game. Yeah,
yeah. It's a lot of it's a lot of a puck movement.
Exactly.
Progressions.
But they've got a stable of really good forwards.
Right.
And that's,
And so can we handle that is the question. The way we played against Michigan or Wisconsin this past weekend makes me think that we can go into Western Michigan and take care of business.
Right.
I don't know that means I will say that I think we split.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with that. I think we split too.
So what do you think Friday? I'm struggling with. Do we win Friday? Do we win Saturday?
It's hard to say. I mean,
I'm going to say. I think I'd say win Friday.
I'm
think
almost
that we surprise them maybe a little bit,
and then they'll just be pissed off on Saturday, and that might.
And they'll take care of this, and we'll just
I mean I'll tell you what. Having watched a little bit of them this season, and having watched us this season, I mean that could turn into both of those games could turn into a shootout between those two teams.
They could also be 1-0 games.
Well, that would be really interesting for UNO to be in that kind of a game because we really have not seen that type of a game develop this season. I tell you what, it's hard to make absolute statements when you're talking about an NCHC matchup.
Right.
And it's hard to have an expectation whether you're the home team or whether you're the away team about getting a sweep of any kind. In this conference, that's just awfully difficult to do. So I think a split I think that's a reasonable prediction on the part of both of us.
Do you think that's a good thing for this team?
What do you mean?
I mean, does it help us? Does it hurt us? Is it a wash?
What do you mean if we split?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you know me, I'd like to sweep every game. But I would say I think a split on the road is always the way that you want to go. It's the old adage of sweep at home and split on the road. We didn't sweep against Wisconsin, but we played well enough to sweep. I think for your first NCHC series, you just have to have positive results. I mean, as long as we don't go in there and have a result like Western Michigan did against Ferris State last weekend, where they rolled up an 8-2 win on them. I mean, I think, at that point, I think a split is good.
If it's non-conference, I kind of think a split might be a question mark generator. Why didn't you get 2 wins?
Well, especially if it's against a team like an Alaska or a Huntsville or that type of thing.
This is NCHC. To me, I actually think that a split's a win for this group.
Absolutely do.
This young of a team, the question becomes, where do we stand against teams that are in our conference?
Yep.
And Western Michigan is predicted to be
one of the top teams in the conference this year.
Better than half, right?
Yep.
So I think you could come away with that with saying a split, saying we go toe-to-toe with a team that's in the top half.
Yep.
If we can keep listening to coach, playing the way we're told to play, doing the things we need to do, doing the little things right, then we've got a legitimate chance to prove Jon right and be a 5th place NCHC team.
I'll tell you what, every series we play, isn't that seeming like it's a more reasonable prediction?
It gets closer and closer, it seems.
That's right. Well, we're 5-2-1 right now.
Yeah.
Need to go in there and have success. I think we need to
it goes back to it's one thing to have success outside of the conference. it's a whole nother thing to have success inside the conference.
And that's what we haven't seen yet. We have not seen them against our peer institutions in the NCHC, and that's who we're going to play the meat of our season against. And they need to establish a tone early on that they're going to be a team that's going to be able to
they need to be a force to reckon with.
Yeah,
because this is, I don't know very many people who would argue against this being the top conference in NCAA hockey.
In my mind, there's no question. Obviously, I'm biased, but I think just watching the other conferences and you look at the postseason success, and honestly, you look at the regular season success, in my mind, this is the premier college and conference college conference hockey. It's premier conference in college hockey. And so I think UNO, their first conference series of the season, sure, it's on the road. It's at a tough place to play, Lawson Ice Arena, but this is an opportunity for them to set the tone going into the meat of our conference season. And look, you do well in this series, and then you get Miami at home in a couple weeks here. So anything's possible. They just need to keep racking up the wins and having success, because it'll mean a lot of good things can happen in the second half of the season if they do that.
So we are in agreement. Split. Win Friday, lose Saturday.
Exciting. Maybe I should have been bold and just said we're going to sweep this weekend.
Might as well, right?
Let's do it,
what
guys.
You got to lose?
Let's go there. Let's sweep those bastards. So, in the meantime, if you want to follow all of that action on the road this weekend, be sure to follow Mavpuck on Twitter. Follow us on Facebook. Sign up for an account on the Mavpuck.com website, and you can find links to all of this stuff there. And until next time, go Mavs.
Go Mavs.